We have finally arrived. Sixers training camp day one, as a couple of our Sixers already emerging and standing out per Coach Nick Nurse. We'll talk a little bit about that, as well as how the Sixers may already be managing the health of Joel Embiid. A little bit of a hint on that. And lastly, we take a look at some footage and clips and pictures from today's Sixers practice. Day number one in the Bahamas. We'll keep you up to date with everything you need to know. But of course, welcome into Philly Take with RB. Go ahead and do me a favor. Go down below this video and hit that red subscribe button if you do enjoy this video. Help us get to our goal of 40K subs. Another season getting underway. We'll keep you covered up to date all week long with the training camp coverage. And next week, we're getting into the preseason already. We'll have our game day shows this year. A lot of coverage, but I am so stoked. I cannot wait. The Sixers take the court here on day number one in the Bahamas. Shout out to Gina Mizell. And throughout this whole week, of course, I'm going to give credit to the people, the reporters that are there. I am not, but shout out to all of the great reports from the people that are covering this live there in the Bahamas. Gina Mizell says, welcome to Sixers training camp inside an Atlantis Resort ballroom. And to be honest, my first look at this, I'm starting to think that Nick Nurse just wanted a nice vacay before this season gets underway. A couple of the reporters and even the players were out on the beaches. They're out here having fun, man. This looks like they're about to have a wedding. They put a basketball court in here. This is the scene of day number one of the Sixers training camp. Now, I do want to say, and by the way, there's Guerschon Yabusele getting some shots up. I do want to say that the reporters didn't seem like they were in the actual practice today looking at the drills and stuff. I do believe they'll have access in the coming days, but for day number one, it seems like they were just allowed in after the practice for the post-practice shoot-around. So we didn't get as much clips as we would like, but still some really good things that we heard today. Also, shout out to Kyle Neubeck getting a little more footage of the scene. And right off the bat, man, Guerschon Yabusele doing exactly what I want to see. He's out here spotting up in the corner, trying to maximize his role. The Sixers don't need anything more than this from the power forward position. They need a guy who's going to be able to spot up and hit threes when Joel gets doubled, and really just a hound, a guy who's going to be a pest and piss some of these other teams off, be a multi-positional defender, be versatile, and grab rebounds. They don't need another Tobias Harris, a guy who logjammed the power forward position, who needed the ball in his hands, who over-dribbled the shot clock out. This is what they need. So shout out to Guerschon, already working on that potential role. And really, I think that's our biggest question coming into the week. Who's going to be the power forward? We'll talk about that. But I want to get into Joel Embiid. Nick Nurse talked today about the process of managing Joel Embiid, his workload. And starting with day one of training camp, he says, quote, he went through everything live to a point today and stopped at the scrimmaging part. So they did some drills early this morning. Then they had a little bit of a scrimmage. And also, in addition to Joel Embiid, Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon, per Nick Nurse, did not scrimmage either. So it seems like, they're not trying to put too much pressure, too much stress on some of these older guys, and they're just getting into the flow of things, which I do like. And we heard Daryl Morey talk yesterday in Media Day about Joel Embiid, and he did say they're going to analyze it a lot more this year, really hone in and focus on it, and do whatever it takes to get him to the playoffs healthy. We've heard that from Joel as well. My favorite quote yesterday, he said, I don't care about the All-Stars. I don't care about the MVPs. All that's done. That's in the past. Get me to the playoffs healthy so I can have one healthy playoff run and try to put this team in the best chance to succeed. So I really like that mentality. And I'm fine with them load managing Joel this year. I'm fine with him not doing much in training camp. So hopefully he gets his feet under him and is ready to go for game one of the season. But the biggest thing of the day for sure is the Sixers standouts. This is what we hear from Kyle Neubeck per Nick Nurse. Guerschon Yabusele, Caleb Martin, Tyrese Maxey, and Kelly Oubre Jr. were the standouts in the Sixers' first training camp session. And my favorite one on this list for sure is Guerschon Yabusele. Again, there are some questions with this team, with this roster, but what we are looking for is to see who emerges as the starting power forward and really who's going to be the reliable second unit. For once, they don't come into training camp with the big question or, all the awkwardness of, hey, is so-and-so going to show up? Is so-and-so going to say something to the media? They finally don't have that. They can worry about basketball. And Guerschon Yabusele hasn't played in the league in 6 years, but he seems very determined and hungry for the opportunity. And like I just said, he just needs to maximize the role. Maybe he does fit better with the starting five, and maybe you can move Caleb Martin off the bench, who also apparently had a really good day, looked upon to be that solid role player the Sixers picked up. But maybe Kelly Oubre Jr. could come off the bench, right? Who knows? I think right now, Kelly, along with Maxey, PG, and Embiid are in the starting five. And I think it comes down to Yabusele and Martin. So we already have seen the first training camp battle emerge. Seems like both guys had a lot of energy, and, you know, they were looked at today as kind of the leaders of that intensity, which is really good to see, trying to make the most of the opportunity. And we'll see in the coming days if we can get more insight on who is going to start from day one. But Yabusele has a really big opportunity here. And just as an aside, I know we're talking about training camp. A report came out today from Shams where he says the Nuggets have so much money invested in the team and still have to pay Aaron Gordon. These are some of the ramifications of, you know, the first, second apron and just where these teams are trending in the future. So I don't want to get off track, but based on the power forward position, if the Nuggets did want to get rid of Aaron Gordon because they don't want to pay him in the future, yes, 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 and yes. That is the answer. No other words needed. Yes, you do it. He would be the perfect complement next to Joel Embiid. Now, Kelly Oubre talked to the media today about how this year's team is different. He talked about the different mix of vets and young guys and just having another year of opportunity under Nick Nurse. He says, quote, "It's really dope to be able to fit into both generations and help the younger guys learn from the older guys." It was funny yesterday during media day hearing some of these guys say, yeah, you know, the young cats came in and said, we're old, we're vets. And these guys are only barely 30 years old, not even. And he's like, damn, maybe I do have to take that next step and be the leader on this team. Very likable group so far. A lot of personalities that I think mesh well and are just going to be tough to play against. So really happy to have Kelly back on this team. He was asked when he realized he was vet adjacent. Justin Edwards walked in and said, "What up, OG?" I was like, bro, chill. I'm 5 years older than you. So a lot of guys being forced to take on that new role and, you know, just set an example, set a tone for some of these younger guys. So I really do like to see it. Also, Kelly Oubre Jr. talked about Tyrese Maxey becoming a better leader, and shout out to Sam D. Giovanni. Let's hear what he has to say.
Like, he's more assertive, I would say. He was vocal last year. He's just more assertive, man. I think he's obviously confident. He's coming to his own, and he has made a name for himself in this league, which he was trying to do that last year, and he did that. So he's just more assertive, man, more confident, and definitely a better leader than, you know, he was last year.
More confident, more assertive. Remember when I said in the offseason that, you know, Maxey's the key? He has to assert himself and dominate, but also know that he can. I think there were times last year where he's so freaking good, but he's still so young, and there's Joel on this team, there's other players. So sometimes he doesn't realize, like, hey, I need to take over the game. You know, I can do that. I can be looked at as the all-star player, as the number one option, and some nights he's going to have to do that. So I already like hearing how Maxey's approach coming into camp is like, hey, I'm only 23 years old, but I'm going to take over some games. I'm going to take control of this team. So really, really good to see. I think he's going to have another monumental leap this season. Speaking of another player that needs to have a leap, Guerschon Yabusele. We talked about him a bit. Here's some more shooting clips from him. Shout out to Kyle Neubeck. This is what we need, man. He looks really good. He looks in shape. I said he might have to get acclimated to the NBA scene again. He looked great in the Olympics. Was even more of a creator than we may have expected. Did all the little things. But again, you know, the Olympics are different. He's maximized on that team. Here, he's just going to have to play a role. And you get this guy on a minimum, and he's already in here putting in work, man. He looks in great shape. His mentality's great. Seems grateful for the opportunity. Yo, he's cashing in shots. This is all he has to do. 3-and-D guy who can rebound and just take a little bit of that burden off of Joel Embiid that he's never had at the power forward position. Shout out to Guerschon Yabusele. Nick Nurse talked about him along with a group of players he thought really brought the energy. Like I said, the guys that stood out. Another Sixers big-time acquisition, Andre Drummond, who's also getting some shots in. Shout out to Kyle Neubeck. Post-practice threes, heard this is something he worked on this summer. Drummond's an absolute monster off the bench. If Joel goes down, he can step in and be the starter. But Drummond's a shooter now. Yo, the form doesn't look that bad. Andre Drummond is cashing in, ladies and gentlemen. If Drummond can shoot this year, anybody can shoot. These centers know they have to adapt their game. Drummond said yesterday, I'm the best rebounder of all time, but he knows to continue his career, he's got to add a little bit of an offensive bag. And he's out here knocking threes. Yo, if Drummond can do this during the season, it's over. Best backup in the league. Best backup in the league. Nobody has any excuses if Drummond comes out here and starts shooting threes. Lastly, Tyrese Maxey throwing one down after a practice shot at the Kai Carlin. It's so good to see Tyrese, man. Let Maxey throw down a couple big-time dunks this year. Watch what happens at the Wells Fargo. Place is going to absolutely erupt. I, again, would not be surprised if Maxey averages 25 to 30 this year. I think, we're already hearing he's more assertive, more confident, and I think the sky is the limit for Tyrese Maxey. I think he can put this team on a different universe. I think, Paul George is the big-time signing. Joel's the superstar. But Maxey, every single year, just finds ways to get better. I can't wait to see what he does this season. Give me all your thoughts down below in the comments section. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Day one in the books. We'll have a lot more in the coming days. Appreciate everybody. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.